What's up, everyone? Welcome to the FanDuel Tournament Plays MLB edition presented by PrizePicks. I'm your host, Adam Scherer. You can follow me on Twitter at ChipMyMoneyDFS. And as a reminder, you get one free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum when you sign up and make a deposit at PrizePicks. Be sure to use the code Awesemo to receive a 100% first deposit bonus up to $100. This is the first MLB Tournament Plays video that we're doing. We'll be doing this for the rest of the season with the NBA regular season being over. Obviously, things are a little bit different between baseball and basketball. So in this video, we're going to take a look at 3 of the top tournament stacks and 3 of the top tournament pitchers using the top stacks tool and the top pitchers tool on the Awesemo.com website. Starting with the stacks, number 3, Washington Nationals, projected for a 7% chance of being the top stack. They're projected for about 5% aggregate ownership. They are taking on Huascar Ynoa and the Atlanta Braves in Atlanta. The Nats only have about a 3.9 implied run total, but they're not pulling much ownership here. And you do still get some high upside bats in this lineup with Juan Soto, Nelson Cruz, and Josh Bell likely to be hitting 2 through 4. Number 2, the Tampa Bay Rays, projected for a 7.7% chance of being the top stack, 6.1% aggregate ownership. They're taking on Paul Blackburn tonight. Blackburn is not a very good strikeout pitcher. He does typically do a good job of getting ground balls. This isn't a great hitter's park, but still a 5.1 implied run total for Tampa Bay. Plenty of power, plenty of speed in this lineup. They're always going to be a high upside lineup, and tonight they're not pulling that much ownership. And number 1, the Toronto Blue Jays, another team that is pretty much always a high upside lineup. They have an 8.5% chance of being the top stack on tonight's slate, 5.1% aggregate ownership projection on FanDuel. They have a mediocre matchup against Jameson Taillon in New York, but there's just so much power, really top to bottom in this lineup, but particularly from like 1 through 5 with Springer, Bichette, Guerrero, Hernandez, and Gurriel likely hitting in those spots. Tons of power here, and if Taillon's not on top of his game, things can get ugly for him really quickly, and the Blue Jays can throw up a lot of runs in a hurry. As far as the top pitching options on FanDuel, coming in at number 3, Taiwan Walker pitching in Philadelphia, taking on the Phillies. The Phillies have nearly a 5 implied run total, so this is certainly a dangerous spot for Walker. But we kind of saw 2 different pitchers last season. He finished the season with a 22.3% strikeout percentage, but early in the year, he pitched really well, then dealt with some injuries, really dropped off towards the end of the season. Maybe he rights the ship, gets things back to normal, and gives you a good start tonight. Only projected for about 3% ownership with an 8% chance of being the top scoring pitcher. Number 2, Chris Flexon, also projected for about 3% ownership with a 9% chance of being the top scoring pitcher. Flexon only struck out about 16.9% of hitters last season. Tonight, he is facing He's facing the Minnesota Twins, so not a particularly appealing matchup. Obviously, you have Byron Buxton at the top of that lineup, hitting incredibly well last season and so far this season. But Flexon just still projected to be a little bit underowned for someone that does typically do a pretty good job of mitigating hard contact. And number 1, Nick Martinez, one of the biggest question marks on the slate tonight, projected for 1% ownership with about a 9% chance of being the top scoring pitcher. Martinez hasn't pitched in the major leagues since he was with since 2017, most of that time with Texas. He spent the last 4 seasons in Japan, put up better numbers, supposedly sees an uptick in velocity now. We don't know how well that's going to carry over to the major leagues. He's still unlikely to be, a great major league pitcher or anything close, but he is inexpensive and he is only projected for 1% ownership, pitching in the most favorable pitcher's park in baseball against the Giants. So to recap, the top 3 stacks on FanDuel: number 3, the Washington Nationals; number 2, Tampa Bay Rays; and number 1, the Toronto Blue Jays. And the top 3 tournament pitchers on FanDuel: number 3, Taiwan Walker; number 2, Chris Flexon; and number 1, Nick Martinez.